like, 20, 22, whatever it was, and 25. Anyway, so we're sitting there working on this plan. Well, we realized that these one bedrooms and studios, the cash flow on those is good, but if you step it up to like a two bedroom, it jumps up to like 1,000, 1,200 a month net. And if you go to a three bedroom, like 1,500 plus. I'm like, well, that could definitely accelerate our plan. And so we started bringing on different size properties, and then and so we were still, arbitraging, and then we started hosting for people. So we had a guy that reached out to us. He found us on Airbnb, and he's like, "Hey," he goes, "I really like what you're doing." He goes, "I want to partake in it, but I've got other things going on." He goes, "Would you consider like hosting for me, managing the property for me?" And we're like, "Yeah, we'll do a master lease." First of all, you don't need as much as you think you need to leave your job. Second, the opportunity cost of you being on your job is way more, costing you way more than you realize, of things that you go and have. It's costing you opportunities because you're on the job 9, 10 hours a day.
Welcome back to Vicsmanor, the channel for great conversations with great people. Today, we're diving deep into the incredible story of Brian Biernat, a man who traded a secure 28-year career as a telecom executive for the unpredictable world of real estate, and in doing so, found true freedom. In this video, you'll get a masterclass in recognizing opportunity, taking calculated risks, and building a business that serves your life, not the other way around. If you're looking for the inspiration and the strategy to make a big change in your own life, you won't want to miss this. Make sure to hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe for more stories of success.
So my name is Brian Biernat. My wife Amy and I been married 32 years. This coming July, I was a telecom exec of 28 years. I engineered, planned, operated cellular networks and also fiber optic networks here in the U.S. for what we call tier two carriers. So not the big Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T types, but the next tier down. And on our last relocation for a job, we brought us to the Jackson, Mississippi Metro, and we just didn't want this. We didn't want to keep moving. And so I was 49 when I came here. I'm 59 now, so it's been over 10 years. But so I'm a little bit older than you. But we had a couple things happen in life. I had a prostate cancer diagnosis probably 4 months after getting here, 5 months. Came through that fine, praise the Lord. And then in July of that same year, my wife got hit on her bicycle. She was riding. She'd been riding 10, 15 miles a day, and a guy hit her from behind. And so when that happened, it forced us to kind of step back and say, okay, you know, things can happen here. I mean, we did have some money put away. We had some, traditional, 401k stuff. I'm like, but I didn't want her to go get a job, and because she had been a stay-at-home mom. She had taught school for 6 years. She did some bookkeeping work for some small businesses back in Virginia when we were there. So we both of us, I don't remember the exact day we decided it, but we both, thought real estate was kind of the ticket. So we started researching real estate back in probably 2017, and 2018 we kind of jumped in, or late 2017 we jumped in. So we started off just wholesaling. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but where you put a house under contract and then you assign your interest in that contract to another buyer, and you make the spread on the deal. So if you were the seller and I bought the house from you for 100, I could turn around and sell it to someone else for 110 or 105 and make the difference, right? So finding off-market properties, that was kind of key. So we started in October 2017, and that's pretty much what got us into the business. We didn't get into the furnished rental or short-term rental market until April of 2019.
Great. That's quite inspiring. Well, how was it moving? You had a 28-year telecom career. How was it like pivoting from that to where you are right now?
So we just closed on. I got a payout from my old pension, my old company, in like November, December 2017, and we bought two turnkey rentals in Indianapolis, Indiana. They closed in late January. but I went to a wholesaling event in Orlando. And when I met all these 24, 25, 26, 30, 32, 36-year-old guys and gals, and they were like making, I mean, I made a good income. I made, with my bonus, I made right around or just over 200,000 a year US. And these guys are making three, four, five, $600,000. I'm like, what in the world? Like, how are these young whippersnappers making double what I make?
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like they're stressed out. They look like they're, I'm like, something's, I mean, it put a burn in me. Let me just say that. It put a burn in me. I wasn't mad at them. It just, I was like, man, if I'd have known what they know, but then, you got all the personal growth and different things. I'm like, they had no business acumen. I'm like, man. So anyway, long and short, it put a burn in me. And we started, our plan was, okay, we're going to do this real estate thing. And I don't think we really quite knew at that time, like, okay, what was our exit strategy to get me out of my job? So I would say that when I listen to a podcast, so we listen to a lot of podcasts, we partake in a lot of Zoom calls like this. That's why I take them because I kind of can. I don't only have an associate's degree, so I don't have the formal education as most. I took kind of a different path to my executive level in telecom. It's like, and I told my boys, I said that path won't be available for you. It's just not gonna. It's just not how. It's just things have changed. So we bought those houses. Anyway, long and short, I heard this podcast in, I guess, March of 2019, and it was Joe McCall interviewing a guy by the name of Brian Page. And Brian Page was master leasing furnished apartments and houses and putting them on Airbnb. And he was basically paying, he basically had, instead of, he controlled the property without ownership. And we call it rental arbitrage or master leasing. Anyway, his goal was 10,000 a month net. And I listened to that. I was running about 3 miles that time. And as I'm running, I'm working through my neighborhood. There's like so many laps around my, I listened to the podcast twice and I was like, there's something to this. And I said, so I sent it to my wife. When she heard it, she got really excited. And we had been driving for dollars and I don't know if you're familiar with that term or not, but basically you drive around and look for distressed properties, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Zero cost marketing, just your gas and your time. And you make a list, you look them up, skip trace them, postcard them, call them, whatever. Anyway, when she heard that podcast, she was like, I like this. She was, I can get behind this. So that was it. So that was like in late March. In April, we went out and got four master leases, and then we ended up going to a STR course later that month here in Jackson. My mentor was putting it on. He brought a guy in from California, and we were off and running. So that was in April 2019, and then um, I think somewhere along the way. So we started off with the smaller doors and we said, okay, how many of these would it take to replace my income? So of course, I was looking at my gross, not my net. And I was like, if I could get to, like, 15K, I think we'd be pretty good shape. So we're like, well, that's going to take, at 6 to 700 net. I mean, that's gonna take a few doors, right?
Yeah.
Well, so we penned it out. We said, yeah, we're going to need like, 20, 22, whatever it was, and 25. Anyway, so we're sitting there working on this plan. Well, we realized that these one bedrooms and studios, the cash flow on those is good, but if you step it up to like a two bedroom, it jumps up to like 1,000, 1,200 a month net. And if you go to a three bedroom, like 1,500 plus. I'm like, well, that could definitely accelerate our plan. And so we started bringing on different size properties and then and so we were still, arbitraging and then we started hosting for people. So we had a guy that reached out to us. He found us on Airbnb and he's like, "Hey," he goes, "I really like what you're doing." He goes, "I want to partake in it, but I've got other things going on." He goes, "Would you consider like hosting for me, managing the property for me?" And we're like, yeah, we'll do a master lease because we don't have to be considered a property manager in the States, at least in the state of Mississippi.
Yeah.
You have
How,
to have a broker, you have to have a real estate broker's license.
Yeah.
But if you master lease, you can master lease, and you'll fall under the category of a professional landlord. So if you master lease, you don't need to have a license. So we're like, okay. So hosting is a little different than property management anyway, because it's more hospitality based, not traditional like renter landlord relationship based. So anyway, we started doing some of those on top of those master leases. And in 2001, no, 2021, we noticed, the numbers were looking really good. We had, I think at the time, 16 properties. And, the numbers we were hitting our numbers. And I was like, for like 6 months, and I was like, and so, but I was still like, well, we'll go another 6 months and we'll see, And anyway, we had an event in July, and a couple real, who are now really good friends kind of called me out and said, look, it's costing you more money. You don't need, first of all, you don't need as much as you think you need to leave your job. Second, the opportunity cost of you being on your job is way more, costing you way more than you realize of things that you don't have. It's costing you opportunities because you're on the job 9, 10 hours a day. And that's so true because, things can come up in a moment's notice. And if you're in a meeting, you're on a call, I mean, you can't address it. So sometimes it's time sensitive, and you can't address it, and then the opportunity goes bye-bye or goes to somebody else. So I decided, okay, I need to knuckle down, and so we did it. We decided in July, okay, we're going to look at the numbers through September through August, beginning of September, and we're like, okay, we're over that number, and we had a pretty good number put aside in the account. And I'm like, I think my wife's like, I told you, you can go anytime. So we're like, all right. So my mentor in short-term rentals in April of 2019 made me write a resignation letter, sign it, and carry it around my wallet. He said, put that in there. That's going to give you motivation so that when the day comes. And so I did. So I had scratched off, I had a couple different bosses I scratched off, and I ended up typing it out. And I emailed it. My boss, I don't know where he was. He was not in the office. I emailed it to him like 10 o'clock in the morning. And then, I don't know, somewhere around 12, I guess he called me maybe or emailed me back, and clock was ticking. So my last day was going to be October 1st. I was going to leave October 1st. So that's what I did. So we
That,
got to that point, and then pretty much my wife was already full time in the business, and then I went full time, and we've never looked back. And it hasn't all been, a bed of roses, but I mean, for the most part, it's pretty good when you control your time, and you can pretty much set your own schedule. And like last year, I was telling somebody, I think I took 60 days vacation last year, something like that. I don't know, it was a crazy amount. We were gone a lot. Maybe it was less, maybe it was 50. I don't know, but I don't count anymore because I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to ask somebody if I want time off. I just go when I want to go.
yeah.
So it's a pretty much a mobile business. I mean, as long as I have a Mac and an internet connection or a phone and an internet connection, I can pretty much do what I need to do. So,
How easy was it to register your business? Like, for example, someone wants to start your business today. What's the first two, three steps to go? How easy is that to kick off?
so it's funny you mentioned. So we're actually going to start a coaching program here. I think we have our first go live next Thursday. But I mean, there's a lot of different things you have to do. I wouldn't say that it's not that it's hard. It just requires time, and you gotta want to do it, right? You gotta have a strong why. So, I mean, finding properties. So we learned how to find, rental arbitrage or master leases are not hard to find. Um, you just do a little research on where, like, where do people have short-term rentals? Where does it make the most sense? What's going on in the city? And you can pretty much narrow down with Zillow and also with Airbnb and some other sites. You can kind of see where people have properties, and so that gives you kind of a general idea. And then you kind of know, like, okay, you have to figure out, okay, what are these things going to rent for in a night, a week, a month, and then you can kind of figure out, okay, once you kind of get your number, Like we know now, like a 3 bedroom, 2 bath house, we know we can make 4,500 a month, right?
Mhm.
Minimum, right? Out in net, 2,500 bucks, I know that my note or my lease, insurance, all my utilities, pest control, yard, I need to keep it around 2,000,
Yeah.
right? And then I'll net 2,500.
Mm.
Maybe it goes a little over. Like right now, utility costs are pretty high here, so maybe I'm over that by a couple $100. So if I'm only making 2,300 a month on that deal, but I mean, those are the numbers and they work, right? And that, you just divide it by 30
Yeah.
and you can back into the nightly rate. So, a 3 bedroom is going to be between 150 and, 170, 180 a night, depending on where it's at. So
Why did you choose furnished short-term rentals over the long-term, the traditional long-term rental?
cash flow is better. I mean, we do have some long-term rentals, but typically most people, I mean, a short-term, well, back in the day, a short-term rental is like net numbers is like 2.5 to 3 times more than a traditional rental. So most people are happy if they make 300 a month net. Well,
Mm.
in our business, we were getting 600 to 700 on the 1 bedrooms, and on the 2 and 3 bedrooms, we were like 1,000 to 1,500.
Mm.
So it's actually more than that. It's probably up to almost 5x. And now with all these, what they call midterm 30 plus, if I can, if you're a landlord, you're making 300 or 400 on a 3-2, and I'm, making 2,300 on a 3-2, which one do you want? I mean, that's crazy. That's like
Yeah.
7x, right?
Yeah.
Just right there.
Yeah.
8x. So I mean, we diversified a little bit. We also have a couple co-living properties where we rent rooms by the week for a minimum of 12 weeks. So we have a couple of those. We have some long-term rentals. I have a separate property manager that handles that, and then we have a team that handles our furnished rentals. But the furnished rentals by far, I mean, the cash flow is just way better. It's just
Great.
way better.
Great. Has the market over there, how has it evolved over time compared to when you started?
Well, so pre-COVID, there was probably about 270 properties in the Jackson, Mississippi metro. So that's like, Jackson and all the surrounding cities.
Okay.
Today there's 680. So it's tripled.
Mm.
Um, Most people back then were just on Airbnb or Vrbo or both, and it was pretty easy. Well, now you got a lot of competition, you got a lot of people out there, a lot of choices. So you have to have additional marketing channels so you can get the things before people go to Airbnb. And quite honestly, during COVID, April 2020, we decided to get our own booking website built. So we have our own website, convenientcorporatehousing.com. You can look it up. I can actually put it in the chat for you if you want.
Yeah.
I'll do that real quick. So we have our own website. We built this. We had a VA build it for us um, during COVID, and it was probably one of the best decisions we ever made. Um,
Okay.
the goal was to try to drive at least 75% of the bookings off of Airbnb.
Okay.
So today, our metrics are between 70 and 75% direct every month.
From the website.
From the website, word of mouth,
Okay.
contacts with insurance clients, restoration companies, whoever.
Great. What has been your biggest operational failure ever since you started, and how were you able to recover from it?
Mm, Probably not having enough. So there were some traditional slow months like over here, like August is kind of a transitory month.
Mm.
And then, January, February used to be pretty slow. So we had some tight months because we were only really relying on those online platforms. But as we've expanded our marketing, got more aggressive, did more targeting, more direct, then those months are now we see more consistency. In fact, I think we just had our best January ever. I think 2 years ago we had a pretty strong January. This year we exceeded it. And I attribute that to better marketing, more specific targets on 30 plus days. I don't think it's feasible unless you're in this is not a vacation market where we live. It's what
Okay.
I call a tier two market. So we rely on a lot of business travelers. We rely on, we have a lot of Amazon data centers being built here. Araya's building here. We have all kind of projects going on. So people need furnished housing.
Mm,
So I think here for us, that was pivotal for us. I'd say the other thing, we had we had a person that was, what was she? I guess she was kind of handling our cleanings and they were spending we just noticed that the costs were way too high on some things. And so when we got rid of her, kind of dialed it back in, we started saving a whole lot of money on supplies. So,
okay.
but we have weekly ops meetings. We look at revenue, we look at marketing, and then we look at everything else. So, but I think for us in the early days, I think we got a little stretched. There were a few months there where we just kind of we had a couple tight months, couple tight months, probably back in the 2022 going into 23. And then I think we in 23 we really kind of pushed the envelope a little bit on these insurance stays. Those longer stays help. If the calendar's slow on Airbnb or people aren't traveling, it helps to have the direct bookings, the corporate clients, the contractors, the work crews, because they come in and they just stay and they just kind of live their life. You're not really worried about a rating. You don't hear from them unless something's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
They're a little hard on the property, but you get deposits for that.
With this wars going on within the US and the Middle East, people have started having bookings canceled. I don't know if you've had such experience currently.
I mean, what's going on over there doesn't really, I mean, we're not really seeing, the only effect I'm seeing is gas prices just jumped about 20 cents a gallon.
Okay.
So you're in a little different, I mean, if you're in Africa, it's a little different. You're a little closer to all that. Where are people getting bookings canceled? Like in the Middle East?
Yeah.
That would stand the reason.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to go to Dubai if Iran's raining missiles down on them, right?
True. True. What's what does the future look like 5 years from now within your market?
I mean, I mean, I think 5 years is probably a little too far to look. I think you have to look at it probably 1 to 2 years, more than like, because I mean, I think about 5 years ago where we were, so that was 2021, and we hadn't quite pivoted some of these longer stays. So now we've made that pivot. I would think that in 5 years, we're probably going to see less and less on Airbnb. Us
Mm,
personally,
mm,
I think Airbnb's still around. I think Verbo's around. There's a lot of different those companies around, but I think people are going to figure out, or if they haven't, they're not going to make it. I think we'll see it. Probably 20% people will get out of the business because they won't be able to make it because they're only on Airbnb. They don't have their own website. Um, the hot areas, the beaches, the mountains,
yeah.
the theme park area. I mean, those are always going to do well. But they're gonna ebb and flow based on economy, and right now our economy is growing. It's getting much better than it was under the Biden administration, thankfully. Um, but you're not gonna costs are coming down overall. But I mean, I just don't see as many things. I don't see the reliance on Airbnb. In fact, in 5 years, I could even see it's not even on Airbnb.
Mm,
But it's a marketing channel, so we'll stay open to it. You just have to get past the whole I got to be a super host. FOMO thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't get in this business to be a superhero. We got in this business to get financially free and get our time back. And so we have six soon to be seven grandchildren. So we want to be spending time with our kids and our grandkids, and this business affords us to do that, a way to do that.
Great, great. I want to believe that you're not working on your own. You have a team that you work with. So how were you able, how easy was it for you to recruit your team, and how easy is it for you to manage your team?
Well, I spent 28 years in executive level management. I was a project manager. I managed cross-functional teams. I built my own teams as a manager and director. So building a team was never really a problem. Hiring people, not really a problem. Interviewing, fleshing out who's a good candidate, who's not. My wife's pretty good at it. We work together at it. She's more the COO of our business. I'm more of the strategy, biz dev kind of guy. So, we do have operational. Hold on one second. Let me turn this fan on. It's warm in here. What's the temperature like over there where you're at?
It should be around 8 degrees right now. It
What's
got warmer.
what's that in my language?
Fahrenheit, right?
Yep. What is 8 Celsius? What's the day like?
Uh,
What are you like 50s and 60s during the day?
I think so. It should be up to that.
Because I'm wearing a golf shirt and a pair of shorts. It's like 82 out right now, Fahrenheit.
Uh,
The
it's
tram.
actually it should be like 46, 47.
Okay.
Yeah. So on a final note, what advice would you give to the aspiring host out there that is trying to start his business?
So I guess if you're just talking short or midterm rentals, I would focus on master leasing or arbitrage first. Get you a couple of properties. You certainly can't. I don't understand how people that they just try to host, but they never been in the business. They never. It's almost like a baptism. It's like you have to get a property. You got to furnish it yourself. You got to build the beds, put it all together, so you can kind of appreciate what it takes, right?
Yeah.
Um, I think before I mean, I think you have to have couple of your properties. So get like master lease or rental arbitrage is probably the quickest way to get started if the rent numbers work in your market. And then I would say, you still have to, if you want to grow the business, I mean, at some point you're gonna have to figure out how to buy properties, and you got to learn to find off market. You or a partner needs to figure out, how to rehab or build a rehab team, find good contractors. The other thing you need in a furnished rental space is you need to have, and this goes back to our rehabs, and we have electricians, we have HVAC guys, we have you know handyman, and it's all about building relationships with people. So I think you have to be really astute. If you're not a person that makes friends easy, you got to figure out a way to become that person,
Mm,
and you've got to meet people. You've got to learn what they do. How do you help them? And then they might be able to help you. And so you have to, our one of the big things we have is I got great contractors. We have runners that go in and stock properties. They do minor maintenance. They check up on cleanings. We have cleaners, all they do is clean. And then we have contractors that fix things, big stuff, HVAC, plumbing. Um, what am I missing? HVAC, plumbing. Anyway, we have a pest control guy. I mean, we have a guy that does all the yard maintenance.
mm,
So you have to have these guys, especially like when in a furnished rental business, something happens at a house. I mean, your response time and how fast you get it addressed is critical.
mm.
People can't wait 2 days if the air's down in Jackson when it's, 100 degrees outside Fahrenheit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're not going to see that in Ireland, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Not at all. Not at all.
I was in the UK. I was in Scotland. Was it last August? I'm gonna go to Scotland. August of 24, right? Yeah. I mean, it wasn't, there was some cool days, but I mean, for the most part, it was like in the 60s.
Mm,
That wind shifts, feels cold,
yeah.
but there AC is not as big a deal. But in the wintertime, I bet heat's pretty important. So
Mm,
here, getting those things addressed quickly. I mean, you need to network. So you need to find a local meetup. You need to get on Zooms. You need to be around other investors and learn from them. But, I would say that, invest in yourself, work on you, growth books, there's a lot of them out there. Things that build your emotional intelligence, your people skills, your sales skills, and then the nuts and bolts of a rehab. You don't need to understand how to do a new roof. You just need to find a guy that does and make sure you understand the costs around it. But at some point, if you're going to build a business to any kind of scale, you're going to have to start buying properties.
yeah.
So it's much better to own them
Then
than purchase
renting.
them because you control more. I mean, I think master lease is a good strategy, and you can do more than just furnished rentals with a master lease. There's many things you can do with a master lease, but I think for the most part, you have so I would say, invest in yourself. I would say master lease or rental arbitrage, network, be part of a RIA, find a mentor, and then, start doing your thing and, figure out your plan. And your plan may not be to leave your job. Your plan may be just to enhance your retirement down the road. You may just want additional income streams. I would say define your why and understand it really, really well. Because there's somebody said, well, do you have bad days? I'm like, well, sure I do. I said, but I mean, you have bad days on your job. You don't quit your job, do you? Typically, no. You
Mm,
deal with it. So yeah, we have bad days, but we deal with it. We do what we need to do. And the thing is once you learn how to do some things as business, you've got some skills. I mean, you need to make more money. Okay, buy a few more houses,
yeah.
add to the portfolio, do a couple flips, do a couple wholesales. There's a lot of things you can do to increase your revenue.
Great, great. This was really insightful, sir. Thank you for joining me today.
Brian's business thrives on the superior cash flow of furnished rentals, which can earn up to 7 times more than traditional properties. He has the freedom to travel, take 60 vacation days a year without asking permission, and run his entire business from a laptop. His advice for aspiring hosts is to start with master leasing, learn the business hands-on, and build a strong network of contractors and partners. But above all, he stresses the importance of defining your why. Because when the inevitable bad days come, a strong why is what gives you the strength to deal with it and keep moving forward. What an incredible story of resilience, strategy, and the power of a clear vision. A huge thank you to Brian for sharing his journey with us. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs to see it, and comment below with your biggest takeaway. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be the first to know when we release our next video. We have more inspiring conversations coming your way very soon.